Hello students and welcome to this explanation on flexed budgets. So I want us to read together. This question is called Woof Woof, and it says that this business produces pet food and it needs to set a performance report. The business produces food for dogs and then they sell it by kilogram. The manager of the entity they don't have any financial qualifications and they struggle to understand the principles of performance reporting. Therefore, you were approached to aid them and they gave you the following information. There they've given you a list of costs, they've given you two budget levels and an actual result. So you would find for the actual result, they produced 150,000 kilograms of dog food. So the first thing that we need to do in terms of a performance report is we need to go and find out, is this a variable cost, is it a fixed cost, or is it a mixed cost? So I always start with the fixed cost because, it's the easiest one to observe. And I believe that the fixed cost would be the supervisor, the quality supervisor cost, as well as the rental cost. So in order to remind myself that this is a fixed cost, I'm going to highlight it just in yellow. All right, then I'm going to start doing my calculation. And of course, the calculation is that you need to take the rand value and divide it by the cost driver that is associated with that budget level. So if I start with indirect material and I divide the 250,000 by 100,000 kilograms, I get 2 rand 50. And I also get 2 rand 50 if I divide the 300,000 by the 120,000. So therefore I know that this is a variable cost. And my variable costs, I'm just going to highlight with another color. So let's make that, for example, this turquoise type of blue-green color. For indirect labor, I'm going to do the same. Divide the rand value by the cost driver, and that gives me 1 rand 20. Again, if I take the 144,000 divided by 120,000 kilograms, I again get 1 rand 20. So I can confirm that this is also a variable cost. So I'm just going to highlight it accordingly. Then if I calculate my maintenance, 50,000 divided by 100,000 gives me 0.5. And 60,000 divided by 120,000 kilograms gives me a half as well, which is 50 cents. Again, it is exactly the same, so I'm just going to highlight it and know that that is a variable cost. Then I have already identified that the quality supervisor cost and the rental costs are fixed costs because they are exactly the same at every budgetary level. All right, if I look at the electricity cost, again, I am going to divide the rand value by the budget level of 100,000 kilograms. And in the instance of electricity, I get 75 cents. If I repeat this calculation for the budget level 120,000 kilograms, I'm going to say 80,000 divided by the 120,000 kilograms, and then I get 0,6667. All right, so I can clearly see that these two answers are now not the same. And because they are not the same, I know that I am working with a mixed cost. And a mixed cost, I have to split through my method called high-low. In order to indicate to myself that this is a mixed cost, I am just going to highlight it in another color. So let's make it this, oh no, that green may not be nice to read. Let's make it this lime green. For the telephone cost and the Wi-Fi cost, I'm going to repeat this calculation, take the rand value, divide it by the 100,000 kilograms, which is our cost driver, and that should give you 70 cents. If I repeat the calculation and I take the 82,000 and I divide it by the budget level of 120,000 kilograms, I get 0. We just type it here. I get 0,6833. Again, you can clearly see that these two answers that I've calculated are not the same, and I am therefore going to put it in green for a mixed cost. Now that I know my costs are variable, fixed, and mixed, I'm going to go on and just read. It says that it was suggested that a flex budget based on kilograms, so that would be the cost driver, should be set up. You offered to help Woof Woof with the setting of the flex budget, for it will not keep you busy for very long. And in the required part, they say that you need to complete the flex budget for the pet food producers for the year ended 31st December 2018. Right, so to make it a bit easier, I've already just went and I drew my layout. For this is what the report should look like. This portion is clearly my own calculation. So marks are allocated to the flexed budget and to the actual figures. Because the actual figures cannot change, I always like to fill them in first. So the actual budget was based on 150,000 kilograms. And I am just going to fill in the actual values because that cannot change or I cannot do any calculation around it. So it was 300,000 and then it was 150,000. So I'm literally just typing it from the original question. Then it was 90,000. For the quality supervisor, it was 2025000. For the rental cost, it was 525000. The electricity cost was 85000, and the telephone and Wi-Fi was 92,000. All right, then I'm going to go and fill out my calculations that I have done. So the indirect material was a variable cost, and when I did my little calculation, I got to R2.50. So I'm filling it in. The fixed will remain blank because it doesn't have a fixed portion. The indirect labor, when I did my rand divided by budget level cost driver calculation, I got to R1.20. And for the maintenance, we got to 50 cents. Again, I'm leaving the fixed cost blank because there is no fixed cost. In the instance of the supervisor and the rental cost, these were fixed costs. However, if we are busy with the flexed budget, we must fill in the same amount that they budgeted for in the two budgeted levels because it's a fixed cost and not related to budgetary outputs. So if I look at the question, the fixed cost was 1.2 million rand and 200,000, there's a zero missing there, 200,000 rand respectively. So now I'm just going to go back and say this was 1.2 million and this was 200,000. Right, so please just excuse these little aisles. They used to be used to allocate marks in the layout. All right, then for the electricity and for the Wi-Fi, I remember we said that those were mixed costs. So for the mixed cost, we have to go and do a split, and that split is done through high-low. On the second sheet, I have already put my layout for high-low, and I'm quickly going to fill it out in both instances. So I'm going to start with electricity. And the highest cost driver for electricity was the 120,000 kilograms, and the lower cost driver of the budget levels were 100,000 kilograms. Then the rand totals that went with the highest budget was for electricity 80,000, and for the 100,000 kilograms it was 75,000. So I'm now using this information and the cost driver, that information, to fill out my high-low. Thereafter, I need to get to the difference, which is the difference in the cost driver, high minus low, and then again the difference in the rand total, which is high minus low. And I have 5,000 rand, and I have a difference in my cost driver of 20,000 kilograms. So to get to the variable cost, and this will now be variable cost per kilogram, I have to say it is the 5,000 Rand difference divided by the 20,000 kilogram difference. And if I do that calculation, I get to a variable cost of 25 cents. Now I want to get to my total variable cost, so I need to times it by the highest activity. It would be now the 25 cents I've just calculated for the variable cost, and I'm going to times it by the highest activity, and that was 120,000 kilograms. If I do that calculation, I get to 30,000 Rand. Then the total mix cost, I can just use the highest mix cost as I've listed it here, and that's going to be 80,000 Rand. And it goes with the 120,000 kilograms. The difference should be the fixed cost. So here I'm going to say the variable cost plus the fixed cost equals the mixed cost. So it's going to be 80,000 Rand minus 30,000 Rand to get to that. And if I'm not mistaken, it should be 50,000 Rand. So now I know I can go and fill out my report that I'm writing on my flexed budget, because I need this little variable cost value. And I need this value, which is the fixed cost. So I need to go back and fill it out. So back on my report, I'm going to say for electricity, it was 25 cents variable cost, and the fixed cost portion was 50,000. Then moving on to the Wi-Fi and telephone accounts, I'm going to now have the same calculation process that I am going to repeat, but this will be for Wi-Fi and telephone. So for Wi-Fi and telephone, I am going to again fill out the cost drivers. The highest one was 120,000 kilograms. The lowest one was 100,000 kilograms. Then the Rand value in terms of Wi-Fi, the highest one was 82,000. And the lower one of the budget was 70,000. And again, I am reading this from the question, so these are the amounts that I am working with. Right, I'm going to calculate the difference, which is high minus low. And thereafter, I need to go and find the variable cost per cost driver. In this instance, it is per kilogram. So it could be per kilogram, per unit, per hour, per meter, per liter, whatever the cost driver is in the specific question. For the variable cost, I am going to say it is the 12,000 Rand divided by the 20,000 kilograms. And when I do that calculation, I get to a variable cost of 60 cents. To get to total variable cost, I need to times by the highest activity. So I'm going to take the 60 cents that I've just calculated. I'm going to times it by the highest, which is 120,000 kilograms. If I do that, I get to a total variable cost, which is 72,000 Rand. The total mixed cost is easy to fill out because I just go and look for the highest Rand value, and that was 82,000. And then, of course, the fixed cost is going to be the difference between the mixed cost and the variable cost, because the sum of the variable cost and the fixed cost equals the total mixed cost. So here I'm just going to say 82 minus 72, and I get my fixed cost to be 10,000 Rand. So again, I need to go back to my report that I'm busy with, and I need to fill out this 60 cents, and I need to fill out this fixed cost, which is 10,000 Rand. Going back to my answer, I'm going to say for telephone and Wi-Fi, it was 60 cents variable cost, and then the fixed portion was 10,000. All right, now I can go and complete my flexed budget. So what does a flexed budget mean? It means that I should take my budgeted cost and I need to times it by my actual my actual cost driver. And the actual cost driver was 150,000 kilograms in this question. So to calculate my indirect material, I'm going to say this 2 Rand 50 times by 150,000 kilograms, which was the actual cost driver. To calculate the indirect labor, I'm going to take this 1 Rand 20 and times it by the 150,000 actual kilograms. And for maintenance, I'm going to take the 50 cents and times it by 150,000 kilograms. So there I have now calculated all my flexed budgets for the variable cost. And then the fixed cost was easy because it was still a budget, so I just had to copy the budget totals from the question. All right, for the electricity and the Wi-Fi, we now have two parts. We have a variable part and a fixed part. So to calculate the electricity, we're going to say we take the 25 cents and we times it by the actual kilograms, 150,000. And then to that answer, we still have a fixed portion that we have to add as well. So we're going to add that 50,000 and I get 87,500. This needs to be repeated for our telephone and Wi-Fi. So we're going to take the 60 cents times by the actual 150,000 kilogram cost driver. And to that variable answer, we also have to add the fixed cost portion, which was the 10,000. And that gave us 100,000 Rand. Right, now we need to get to our variance. So variance means difference. And then we need to go and determine if it's positive or negative. If I look at the budget here and the actual kilograms, the difference is 70, or the actual Rand value associated with the actual cost driver, I see the difference is 75,000 Rand. If I look at the indirect labor, it's 180 and 150, so the difference should be 30,000 Rand. If I look at the 90,000 and the 75,000, the difference there should be 15,000. If I look at the 1.2 million Rand and the 2,025,000 Rand, I see that the difference there is 825,000. Then the difference in the rental cost was 200,000 minus the 525,000, and that gave me a difference of 325,000. The difference between the electricity, the budget, and the actual was 2,500. And then the difference between the 100,000 and 92,000 was 8,000. Right. Lastly, we need to indicate whether these changes or these variances are now favorable or unfavorable. So this is how we will argue. In accordance to the budget, I was allowed to spend 375,000 Rand, and I actually spent 300,000 Rand. So I spent lesser than the budget allowed me to. And because I saved money, this would be favorable. If I look at the indirect labor, I was allowed to spend 180,000. I actually spent 150,000, so I saved 30,000 Rand. If I look at my maintenance, I was allowed to spend 75,000, but I spent 90,000 in actuality, so I overspent by 15,000, which makes it unfavorable. If I look at the quality supervisor, you will see that there is a 1.2 million and a 2,025,000 Rand. I definitely overspent. I overspent by 825,000, which makes this unfavorable. If I look at the rental cost, it was 200,000. The actual that I spent was 525,000, and I definitely overspent, which makes it unfavorable. If I look at the budget for my electricity, I was allowed to spend 87,500. I actually spent 85,000, so therefore I saved money and it is favorable. If I look at the Wi-Fi and the telephone account, I was allowed to spend 100,000. In actual fact, I spent 92,000. Therefore, I saved 8,000, and that is favorable. All right, so this was the answer that you should have gotten to for Woof Woof. It's quite an interesting question. I really liked it. It tests whether you understand all the costs, mixed, variable, and fixed cost. As I said before, if you follow the recipe for the mixed cost, you cannot go wrong if you apply high-low in this way. That's why I already copied my layout beforehand, because I know it's going to be very helpful. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, please contact me regarding these flexed budget calculations so that I can kindly assist. Until I hear from you, keep well.